What do you call me? Yeah. Can you find that on your device? So right now she's scrolling back through pages. Yeah. Say it again.
Cha-cha.
Cha-cha. She calls me cha-cha. So she can't put her lips together to make M sounds. And so for the longest time, she had other names for other people, but she didn't call me anything. And she was watching a movie. I think it was Larry Crown with Julia Roberts and Tom Hanks, of all things. She was like 2 years old. And there's a line at the end where someone says, "Nice dress, Cha-Cha." And she was laying on the couch watching it, and she said, "Nice dress, Cha-Cha." And I said, "You can say Cha-Cha?" And she said, "Cha-Cha, Cha-Cha, Cha-Cha." And I was like, "Do you want to call me Cha-Cha?" And she said, "Yeah." And so she just started calling me Cha-Cha. So now it's like the substitute word for mom. Mm-hmm. So if she asks you, she'll be like, "What's your Cha-Cha's name?" Or "When's your Cha-Cha's birthday?" or whatever. So yeah.
I love that. That's a good name.
Welcome to Her Unshakeable Confidence with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakeable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
Did you already forget who you are?
Oh my gosh.
This happens all the time. She forgot who she was. Oh my goodness.
My brain is like on autopilot right now.
Yeah. I was like, what happened to that? Usually I'm the one making mistakes, but this is what we love about
that. Oh my gosh. Okay.
This is what we love about just recording because it's supposed to be authentic, right? Like we mess up all day long. So here we go. Mistake number 1. Actually, let's celebrate that one. Okay. So we have 2 very special guests with us today, Jennifer and Kennedy Swann. And we are so excited to host you on our podcast. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a bio here. Jennifer Swann is a constitutional lawyer turned special needs mom and advocate who has found her purpose and passion in sharing her journey as a mother of a child living with a life-threatening neuromuscular disease. She shares her insights, 15 years in the making, on her daughter's superpower living into her fullest potential, despite the fact that she cannot move and requires 7 machines every day just to stay alive. Jennifer leverages her many years on stage as a musical theater performer and her passion for personal development to deliver inspirational, heartfelt, and relatable content to her followers and listeners. She is widely regarded as a naturally gifted speaker who connects with her audiences by sharing honestly and vulnerably about her own path to empowered living. Jennifer and her daughter have been featured on multiple prominent local media outlets, including KCAL News and The Voice of OC. Jennifer and Kennedy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So we're going to run things a little differently today. So since we have 2 guests, we're going to ask Kennedy some questions to start. And then when Kennedy has had enough of us, then we will go ahead and start asking Jennifer. We'll start asking you more questions if that works okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect.
Sound good to you? Okay.
So first of all, Kennedy, can you tell everybody how old you are? So
15 years old.
I'm 15 years old. Okay, so why don't you give us a little background here, Jennifer, because that sounded amazing, but we want to explain how Kennedy communicates because it is amazing.
Yeah, so Kennedy has a neuromuscular condition called spinal muscular atrophy, and it's considered to be the childhood version of ALS. So it affects essentially all voluntary muscle movement. She needs assistance with all activities of daily living. She breathes on a ventilator. She can't cough or swallow. And she is verbal, but it can be hard for people to understand her who aren't around all the time. So she has a device, which is called a Tobii Dynavox eye gaze. And the eye gaze device is essentially a computer. It has a screen on it, and she is looking at buttons or words or letters or a keyboard, and she can select what she wants on the device, and it speaks for her. So people who don't understand her regular speech can understand her through the device. So she has this device with her all the time at school. It's her primary mode of communication at school. And we use it at home too, but we do talk at home, huh? Yeah. So this is her eye gaze device.
So I want to learn a little bit more about you, Kennedy. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have a brother named Jacob and a sister named Andrea.
Wow. So I have 6 children. So Olivia has 5 siblings. Yes, she does. Most days it can be a lot. Yeah. So one of the things, Kennedy, that I learned from your mom is all of the cool things that you do. So what is it like going to school for you?
School has been really fun.
Yeah, which is amazing. You know, it's so funny because I mean, Olivia, you can say, like, when you were younger, did you like going to school?
Do you want me to answer honestly?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
If you asked me though, when I was 15, if I enjoyed going to school, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, I will qualify her answer here. Kennedy is a social butterfly. So she loves all of the social aspects of going to school, not so much the academics, right? Yeah, she's shaking her head no. Yeah, she loves the opportunity to make friends and meet new people. And so that's, I think, what you love about school, right? Yeah, and then doing things that she loves at school. But the learning part of it, the homework part of it, not so much, huh? No.
No, I was going to say, I don't think I ever really liked homework. No, I never liked homework. What am I talking about?
Yeah,
No,
I don't think anyone
I
likes
never
it.
liked homework. Olivia, do you want to ask questions?
Yeah, of course. What is something do you wish that more people understood about you?
Did you want some help? Yeah. How about this one?
That I'm just a regular teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this device, you can compose sentences, and that means selecting one word at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And if the word isn't on there, then you have to go to the keyboard and spell it. And it has predictive text. So sometimes your word pops up, a few letters in, and sometimes it doesn't. But here we programmed some answers for her in advance, because it can take a very long time to compose a sentence. Even thinking about, if you need to make it a possessive sentence or a plural sentence, you have to scroll through multiple pages with your eyes to create that sentence. So it can be a lot of work, huh? Yeah. I've tried it before, just holding the device up, because anybody can use it. You just have to calibrate your own eyes to it. And I lasted like 10 minutes, and I was like, oh my God, my eyes. It's a lot of work. So
Yeah.
she has developed very strong eyes, huh? Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing I heard from your mom is that you guys take some fun trips. Do you like traveling? And I guess what has been your favorite place to go to?
I love traveling. Disney World has been my favorite place to visit, and I would love to go to Chicago.
Chicago. That's exciting.
I haven't been to Disney World in forever, and I was actually just talking to my friends about how I need to go.
Yeah, you too?
Yeah.
You agree?
We used to go all the time when they were little, and now that they're bigger, we don't go as much. So
You too? Yeah, we went twice within like 1 year, and we haven't been back. So she's itching for it, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
We did get to go to Aulani, the Disney resort in Hawaii.
That's so fun.
About 2 years ago. So that was pretty cool, huh? Yeah.
We did not get a chance to go there. I'm going to say yet, but probably never. But yeah, it looks amazing. Really looks amazing. So in terms of communicating, like, how do you stay connected with your friends? Because I know, like your mom said, you are a social butterfly. You love having friends. So how do you stay connected with your friends?
How do you stay connected? Yeah. Or this one?
I schedule FaceTimes, play dates, and sleepovers. And when making new friends, I just ask for their name and their phone numbers. School has been really fun.
She said that was an accident. So this device, it's super tricky because there's a little piece at the bottom of it that is infrared, and it's picking up your eyes. And so if you don't move your eyes away from the device, you can accidentally select another button. So we have videos of her giving presentations in class, and she'll select the button for whatever she's saying in that part of the presentation. And then she has to like look away until it's done reading that part. And then she can go back, because otherwise you effectively end up interrupting yourself if you don't move your eyes away. So
I thought she just wanted to tell us how much she really loved school.
Oh, yeah, because every 15-year-old really loves school.
The social part of school, you know? Every 15-year-old does love the social part of school, as long as you have good friends. And it sounds like Kennedy has really nice friends. So it's amazing.
Kennedy has amazing friends, and she has a FaceTime calendar. So every year she asks for a new themed calendar. This year you got a Wicked one, right? Yeah, because
love Wicked.
Oh, for next year. Yes, for next year. 2025 is Wicked. And her birthday's in December, so she asked my mom for that.
Me too.
Oh, yeah? Me too. Yeah. When's your birthday?
December 6th.
Oh, she's December 2nd.
Oh, so fun.
And she said, happy birthday.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. And I'm December 3rd. So.
You guys are all in the same week. Wow.
Yeah.
No, I'm March. I'm not included.
That's okay. We can still love on you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so she has a calendar, and she will schedule about 3 or 4, sometimes more FaceTimes in a day, where she just connects with people and just catches up with them. And some of these people are people that she's met through school, or may not see them regularly, might have met them one time, but doesn't have any classes with them. And others are like friends of friends who she's like, do you know anybody I can FaceTime? And she'll get their number, add them to the calendar. And she's booked like 5-6 weeks out, something like that.
Wow.
Very, very, very busy.
I wish I had that ability to keep up with people, I will say.
It's pretty special.
Yeah.
She definitely puts an effort in. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I think we only have one last question for Kennedy, although, we can ask more. I mean, it's up to you,
Sure.
Jennifer, if you want to. So let's talk a little bit about the communication device, because as I hear and I hear about it, it just feels like it's something really empowering. So how has it empowered you to be able to express yourself to your friends and to share your thoughts with other people?
People who don't understand how I speak can understand my device, and I can communicate with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. Yeah.
How long, Kennedy, have you been using the device for?
Do you remember? Do you know the answer to that? 6 years. Nope, longer than that. She's had the device since she was about 2.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. You forgot that, huh? How old were you? How old are you right now? You just turned 15. Yeah. When she is trying to tell someone else a piece of information, she'll ask it in the form of a question. So she just asked me, how old am I? Because she wanted you to know she's 15.
Right.
So yeah, so she's been using this device for a little over 12 years, not the same device. It's been upgraded over the years. But yeah, she had it in preschool. So
is it anyone specific's voice or is it an AI voice?
So you can program it. So
yeah,
you can make it a man, you can make it a woman. You could, right now she has a little girl, like a preteen girl. But I had posted something on social media a couple weeks ago, and someone wrote back and said their child had an eye gaze, and it's their child is a daughter, and they posted, or every once in a while they'll just play a trick on the school and send them to school with like an Australian man's voice program.
So funny.
So yeah, there's like over a dozen voices you can choose.
And so do you guys switch it up, or does she usually keep the same, or Kennedy, do you usually keep the same voice on there?
You keep the same one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
there anything you want to show us on your device? Like, do you want to just take us on a little tour or compose a sentence or say something?
I love to sing, dance, talk about boys, and play Bean Boozled with my friends.
Do you know what Bean Boozled is?
Yes, that was actually something I did all the time when I was Kennedy's age. It's the jelly bean ones.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yep.
Yes. One good jelly bean and one bad jelly bean of the same color, and you don't know what you're going to get. So
I like book, show choir, shopping, and Disneyland.
Yep. Those things are true too.
And so Kennedy, you're in show choir and you're also in color guard. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is so cool. I think that's the first picture I saw of you guys on Brand Builders Group was, I think, a picture where you were at maybe a parade. Is that correct?
It was a parade that she marched in with color guard.
Yeah. It's amazing. I just love the full life that Kennedy is living. It's just, it really.
And what's so funny is like, we'll be out in public and people will be like, "Oh, Kennedy, how are?" They come up to us and like, everybody knows who she is. And I'm like, "Who are you? I don't even know you." So she's definitely like a little celebrity locally. Everybody knows who she is. She's so outgoing.
You're just Kennedy's mom.
That is who I am. Yes. Yes, I don't have my own name anymore.
Yeah. Happens.
Although
happens
we
to the
should
best
tell
of
you
us.
that story. She calls me. What do you call me? Yeah. Can you find that on your device? So right now she's scrolling back through pages. Yeah. Say it again.
Cha-cha.
Cha-cha. She calls me Cha-cha. So she can't put her lips together to make M sounds. And so for the longest time, she had other names for other people, but she didn't call me anything. And she was watching a movie. I think it was Larry Crown with Julia Roberts and Tom Hanks, of all things. She was like 2 years old. And there's a line at the end where someone says, "Nice dress, Cha-cha." And she was laying on the couch watching it, and she said, "Nice dress, Cha-cha." And I said, "You can say Cha-cha?" And she said, "Cha-cha, Cha-cha, Cha-cha." And I was like, "Do you want to call me Cha-cha?" And she said, "Yeah." And so she just started calling me Cha-cha. So now it's like the substitute word for mom. Mm-hmm. So if she asks you, she'll be like, "What's your Cha-cha's name?" Or "When's your Cha-cha's birthday?" Or whatever. So yeah.
I love that. That's a good name.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Kennedy, is there anything else you want us to know?
You don't have to say yes. You can be done.
You can be like, "No, I'm over you guys. Stop asking questions."
Have you said everything you want to say? Or do you have anything else? I know what you want to say, huh? She wants to FaceTime Olivia.
Oh my God, yes, of course. I'm actually wrapping up finals right now, so it's like the best time to get into my schedule, or honestly, to get into Kennedy's schedule.
Her schedule, yeah.
I was going to say, I think she's got the waiting list, not you.
I would absolutely love to.
Nice. She was looking at me because she's like, "You know what I want to ask, but I know I'm going to get in trouble if I ask it."
Nope.
No, of course.
Awesome. Very cool. She has a whole list of questions that she asks on a first FaceTime, so she
I
can
love
get
that.
to know people.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Is that all? That's all? You're good? You've said your piece? Yeah? Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kennedy. It was so nice meeting you.
So nice to meet you.
And we are back. So Kennedy took a break from us. You know, she had enough of our questions.
It's a busy schedule.
She's got to get ready for all of her FaceTime calls.
Actually, it's funny because when I told her, what time we were doing this, she goes, "What's on my calendar? Do I need to reschedule anything?" She literally said that to me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. So I kind of want to take a step back and kind of start more like at the beginning of this journey. So you started you're trained as a constitutional lawyer. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Olivia's in law school right now, so that's a great connection.
I am finishing up my first semester. I have my last exam 2 days from now. So yeah.
Woo! Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So tell me about Kennedy's diagnosis. And
well, I have a question first.
Okay, you go.
Is she the firstborn?
Okay, I have to tell you something. Okay, so she is not the firstborn.
Okay.
I have a son, Jacob. He's 18. And whenever you ask her how many siblings she has, she makes up a sister because she wants a sister so badly that she just literally makes one up. And sometimes we've different names, whatever comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we started, we're like, well, you don't really have a sister named Andrea. We can't put that in there. And we wanted to tell her, we'll tell them that that's not real. And she was like, no, don't you tell them that's not real. I have a sister named Andrea. And I'm like, okay. So she is not my firstborn. I have an 18-year-old son.
Okay.
And he is able-bodied. Yeah.
Can I ask now, Liv?
Yes.
Can I go back in time?
Curious,
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back in time to when Kennedy was born and then her diagnosis. Like how old was she when you found out that she had this disease?
So Kennedy was born a little bit early, which had nothing to do with her genetic disease. My water started leaking when I was about 30 weeks. And so I was on hospital bed rest and they induced me at 35 weeks. So she was born a little bit early, but she was healthy and strong and nobody suspected anything. So we took her home. She didn't even go into the NICU or anything. We took her home after 2 days and everything was fine at home. And then when she was about 2 months old, I noticed that she had a really good head control when she was born. Like immediately she was lifting her head and was so strong. And then I noticed that she was losing her head control, that she could no longer lift her head. And when we would do tummy time, she literally was like smothering herself. She could not lift her head off the pillow. And honestly, if I didn't already have a child, I might not have known anything was a little off. But because I had a healthy baby, I just knew something was off. And then she met her milestone of rolling over at 4 months old. And then she never did it again. And we took her to a pediatric developmental specialist, and they noticed that she had what is called hypotonia, low muscle tone. So she didn't, how a lot of babies, they just move all the time and wiggle, and she didn't do that at all. And so, but we didn't know what was going on. And she's considered to be on the stronger side for her type. She has what's called type 1, which is infantile onset of spinal muscular atrophy. And so nobody really suspected spinal muscular atrophy because she was on the strong side and she hadn't had breathing problems, which is very common very early with kids with SMA. And so we just didn't know. And then they started doing blood work. They did some testing of the muscles which was absolutely awful. When she was 8 months old, they tested, they kind of like electrocute you to see if there's a connection between the motor neuron and the muscle across an axon. And there wasn't. So she was formally diagnosed by blood test at 9 months old.
And at that point, what were I don't know, do you remember what your first thoughts were when she received that diagnosis? And if this is too hard, tell me to stop.
No, it's funny because I look back and I'm like, what stupid thoughts to have. Like when they, my first thought was, why is this happening to me? Like, why, like my daughter, why does this have to happen to our family? And I was just really in disbelief. It's a genetic condition that's recessively inherited, which means my husband and I are both carriers. We had no idea that we were carriers. We had no family history of it that we were aware of. To this day, we're unaware of anybody ever having it on either side of the family. So it was really a shock to the system. And, you know, at least for me, I never pictured myself being the mom of a child with significant medical needs, and being faced with questions about, well, what do we do? Do we let nature take its course, which probably means that she gets a cold that she can't recover from because she can't breathe effectively now, she can't cough, and we don't intervene and she suffocates or gets pneumonia and dies? Do we take non-invasive interventions? Do we go aggressive and get her a tracheostomy right from the get-go? And these decisions come very quickly because essentially most type 1s, because she was a little stronger, everything was a little bit delayed for her. But most type 1s, by the time they're 1, have completely lost their ability to swallow, and they need round-the-clock respiratory support. So she was already 9 months old, and we knew these decisions were coming up very quickly. And every decision that we had to make, you sort of had to look in the face of the disease that it's progressing. And at that time, there was no treatment whatsoever. There was a lot of really good research going on, but there was no treatment. And so it was kind of like, well, you can intervene and you can treat what, the symptoms of the disease, but you're not going to be curing this. She's not going to lead a normal life, quote unquote. And she's going to have, need medical care 24 hours a day for the rest of her life. So it was a very dark time, just so sad for, grieving the life that you thought your child was going to have. It was just devastating. It was just so devastating.
And how did you guys decide what path to take? Because I mean, they're huge decisions, right? And it's not just Kennedy's life, it's your life, it's your husband's life, it's your son's life. So how did you make that decision?
Yeah, we kind of took it one step at a time. So, by 11 months old, she was choking on her food a lot. And so we knew at that point that if we needed to make a decision about whether we were going to get her a G-tube, because if we didn't at that point, she was going to aspirate something that she was eating, and then it would all be over. So that decision came pretty quickly. And I remember being in the doctor's office, and my husband was so resistant to it because he didn't want to admit that we had already progressed to that, and it had only been like 6 weeks since the diagnosis. And I asked the doctor, I said, well, if this were your child, when would you place the G-tube? And he said, I would have placed it at diagnosis. And so we scheduled it, and that was the first big decision. And the next one was breathing support, which came a month later. And at that time, we decided for BiPAP, which is essentially a mask over the face that helps support the breathing. She didn't need it all the time. She really only needed it when she slept. But she got sick pretty quickly after that, which was the very first time she'd ever been sick, which is also probably why she was diagnosed so late, because a lot of kids, they end up in the hospital, they're in the ICU like at 3, 4, 5, 6 months old because they can't handle a respiratory illness. And she just never had one. So we didn't see that. But by the time she was 12 months old, we had her on BiPAP. And we decided to stick with that as long as it was working. And then, you know, a few years later, we had to make another decision about, okay, well, it's not working anymore. Now what? And my husband and I never had the conversation, are we going to do nothing? I think we just knew that wasn't on the table for us. Like, this was our child and we knew her and she had a personality and she could communicate with us. And it was never an option for us to just let her pass naturally. We knew that whatever we were going to do, however we were going to intervene, we were going to do something, and, you know, get a feel for what kind of quality of life she could have with whatever we were doing, and then just take it one step at a time.
And it's changed a lot over the years in terms of, so, I mean, imagine at first that had to have been incredibly scary. I'm sure it's scary all the time, but I mean, like, so much so that you didn't want to leave the house because you were afraid that she would get sick. Is that right?
Yeah. So, you know, a common cold takes a lot of kids with SMA type 1 because they can't cough. So they can't clear their lungs. And we have regular respiratory treatments that we do every single day, minimum 2 times a day when she's healthy. That's our baseline. And when she gets sick, those treatments could be every 2 to 4 hours round the clock. And there's lots of kids who end up in the hospital and who don't survive, you know, rhinovirus, which is a common cold that most of us would go to work with, kind of thing. And so for the first couple of years, I just like locked us down, because I knew that it could kill her. And even doing that, it was this completely false sense of security because she still got sick. You know, we didn't lock down to the point of, like, we let our son go to preschool. We were determined to let him lead as normal of a life as possible with a sister with extraordinary medical needs. And so we let him go to preschool. And like any 3-year-old in their first year of school, he came home sick a lot. And so she got sick anyway. And she would end up in the hospital in the ICU for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, several times a year. But it was, you know, it got to the point where I'd be like out in public, even by myself without her, like at the grocery store or something. And I'm like, who's coughing? Where's that cough coming? And I could like distinguish between like a smoker's cough and a bronchitis cough. And, oh, they've had that cough for 6 weeks already. It was really insane, like living like that. I was so germophobic because I literally was like this in my head. I was like this, because she could just die. She could just die from a common cold, and I have to do whatever I can to protect her.
Was there a turning point? Sorry, Liv, I keep asking questions, so you can jump in after this one. Was there a specific turning point that you remember where you said, wait, we're not gonna do this anymore. We're going to really live our fullest life, and not in fear, but in enjoying life?
Yeah, there was. We knew very early that she loved Disney. Absolutely loved Disney. We live less than 10 miles from Disneyland. We had taken her to Disneyland, you know, dipping our toes in the water kind of thing. And my husband and I kind of started talking, and we were like, you know, she would love to go on a Disney cruise. That would be so much fun. And we were just sort of dreaming about it. I don't know how seriously we were taking ourselves, but then we got we started thinking about it more seriously. And it was actually while she was in the ICU with some illness. And we were like, we can't, like, we're wasting the life we have. We have no idea how much time we have with her, and we're keeping her locked up at home to keep her safe, and she's still not safe. What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And we solicited some advice from her doctors, and every one of them, because she has, you know, every kind of specialist under the sun, pulmonary, heart, GI, you know, neurology, everything. Every one of them was like, absolutely not. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have a stable airway. What if there's a medical emergency? They literally said, you know, you're risking her life if you do this. I would highly, highly caution you against any kind of a trip like this. And we just decided we can't live like this anymore. We all need this vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we took it against everybody's advice. And we took a train up to the Seattle area. And then we had like hired this driver in a van kind of thing to drive us to Vancouver. Because at that point, I wasn't flying with her.
Mm-hmm.
Now we fly with her. And she actually has an FAA exemption to lie flat across airline seats.
Oh, nice.
And we fly. So we've flown all over with her. But at that time, that was a train was what I was comfortable with. So we did a train, and we left Vancouver, and I was terrified the entire time. I mean, I was absolutely, and especially the farther we got away from like real medical help, the scarier it got for me. But that being said, I had done the footwork. I had been in contact with, you know, the medical team. I knew exactly what they were capable of and what they weren't capable of. I had 2 pieces of every single piece of medical equipment that she had, because I knew if one of them broke, I wasn't going to stop at Walmart in one of the ports and replace it. So, but what happened is that she just came alive on this cruise. And I met a version of my daughter who I had never met before. And we were talking about it the other day because we have her on a pulse oximeter all the time. So we can see her heart rate and her oxygen. And her heart rate throughout this cruise was like jumping up to like 170, 180, which is really high, even for like a 3-year-old. And we were like, what is going on? Is she getting sick? I was like, what have I done? What have I done? And then we realized that it was excitement meeting the Disney princesses. Every time we got in line to meet a Disney princess, her heart rate would spike. So we started calling it the Disney princess heart rate.
Yeah.
And it just opened us all up, and particularly me, because I was the one really leading the family in the lockdown, to the idea that we can't stay in this bubble. Like, none of us is living right now. And I started questioning why I was working so hard to keep her alive if I wasn't actually going to let her live.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the turning point.
That gave me chills.
Mm-hmm.
That gave me chills. Yeah.
Yeah. And while we were on that cruise was in August. We booked another cruise for October. And so then we did a cruise out of Galveston, Texas. And that time we did fly, and I learned how to fly with her, and we jumped that hurdle, and we did the Bahamas and Key West and Disney's Island in the Bahamas. And then like, we were like, let's do this. Like, this is so much fun. And she wasn't getting sick. We have never to this day had a real medical emergency in travel.
Mm-hmm.
And it like blew the lid off of, you know, everything for us. And we were like, this is how we should be living. We should let her actually have a life.
I love that.
What was the decision to send her to school like?
Yeah, so that's another one that, you know, most kids with type 1 SMA do school from home. They're homebound, and a teacher comes to the house like an hour a day, and they might Zoom in. There's also a robot. She's had this like during 6th season or whatever. We've sometimes kept her home if there's a bad RSV or something out there that for a couple weeks she'll be home. And we haven't even done that in years. But I was like, this kid is way too social. I can't have her just work with a teacher an hour a day. She wants to meet the kids. And so we send her to preschool starting at 3. And we just did it. And it's so funny because I came across this post on my Facebook feed, one of those ones that pops up from, 10 years ago or whatever. And it was her first day of kindergarten, which was such, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was such a powerful moment because we never knew if we would get a first day of kindergarten. We just didn't know if we would get that. And so to like take your kid to school, you think of, Simone, as a mom, every emotion you have taking your kid to kindergarten. Like imagine if you didn't think they were going to live to kindergarten and you get to take them to kindergarten. So my post was talking about how these kids were coming into this meet and greet the night before, and they were like hiding behind their parents' legs and like peeking out and really timid. And Kennedy, in her massive wheelchair was like, "Hi, my name's Kennedy. What's your name?" And she was like the one-man crew greeting all these other little 5-year-olds who were terrified to start school. And she just, they came up with this adorable, like Kennedy's crew. It was one of the jobs in kindergarten. And you would like hold an umbrella for Kennedy or open the door so the nurse could push her stroller through. And she had like 4 jobs assigned to Kennedy, and people would fight for them. Like you had to wait weeks to get on Kennedy's crew. And they had little laminated like signs hanging on their shirts. It was so cute.
I guess that was going to be my next question is like, how did the other kids respond? Because, sometimes kids, I think sometimes kids can be mean, but also I think at such a young age, it is just such a refreshing thing to see. Really, this is what kids are. They just want to be friends. I remember when you guys were little on the playground, a kid would come up to you. Do you want to be my friend? Like, gosh, why can't we do that as adults, right?
Right.
But it seems like that was the welcoming that she got, was that people just wanted to be your friend.
There were kids on occasion who were scared. They didn't understand what was happening. She has a lot of equipment. It makes noises. They don't, it just intimidated them. But we really didn't run into like mean kids. It was more just, this is different and I don't get it and I don't want to be around it kind of thing. But for the most part, she is so disarming. She just puts herself out there and she's completely comfortable with who she is. So it's hard to respond to that in any way but a loving way. So we've been very, very lucky in that regard.
So I know we asked Kennedy this question, but what do you want people to know about your life, about raising Kennedy, about the choices that you've made? What do you want them to know? Because I think it's really powerful. I think a lot of times we do so many things out of fear, fear is a big one, but I think it takes a lot of confidence to build the life you've built. And so, when you're talking to other women and other parents that are going through maybe not the same thing, but something similar, what advice do you have? That was a lot of questions in one, but you know where what I'm getting at there.
Yeah. So I think first of all about Kennedy, she blows my mind because she is literally the only person I have ever met in my entire life who is completely unafraid to be seen and take up space exactly as she is. She's just like, here I am and you're going to love me. And she isn't afraid of being out there and putting herself out there. And her courage just blows my mind. And, that's a gift of her. That is her gift, to just be in the world exactly as you are and be okay with it. And she has never seen her physical disability as any kind of a limitation. I mean, we talked about the Hawaii trip earlier. She wanted to go to Hawaii when she was like 5. And I was like, I can't fly to Hawaii. Like, what if something happens on the plane? We're over the ocean. Like, that's insane. And, you know, it took me till 2 years ago to be ready to fly to Hawaii. But she's like, of course we can do this. Of course we can do this. And she just waits for me to get ready to do it. For me to get brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
But for me, the thing that she has taught me is that whatever situation you are in that you might be viewing as a limiting circumstance, you can see that a different way. You can see your own circumstance as simply what is, and you can decide that you're going to live a full life anyway. And it's so funny because I know you mentioned Brand Builders Group. This, you know, me working with Brand Builders Group and starting to get her story out there and write, you know, I've started social media accounts and I'm sharing her story, and I have plans to speak on it and write a book. And all of that was me saying yes to a more expansive version of my life. Because before Brand Builders, literally, right, like 4 months ago, I'm over here thinking, well, yeah, I should definitely write a book about our life, and I should definitely tell people this story. But I'm so busy doing my thing and taking care of her, and that will have to wait. You know, that can happen later. And I just had this huge wake-up call and new awareness for myself. Like, why am I waiting to live a more expansive life? I'm looking at my circumstance as a caregiver of a child with a severe disability as a limiting circumstance for my life. But look at what she's living with, and she doesn't see it as a limiting circumstance. Like, what? That is just an excuse. That is just a perspective that I can shift. And that's why I'm sitting here today talking to you, because I said yes to sharing this story now. And, you know, the beautiful thing about that is that she's on board for it. She is 100% on board for it. One of the things she didn't talk about that she does is musical theater. So I did a show, you know, I did shows for years and years and years. And then I stopped in my adulthood. And then I went back 4 years ago and I did a show. And she met everybody in the show and she was like, I want to do musical theater. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to make that work, right? Because people don't understand her when she talks. For the most part, she can't move herself on stage. Like, how is this going to work? Well, I called around. I found a theater group that had an accessible stage, and they were willing to work with her and have somebody on stage with her. And she's done like 5 shows now. And every show that she does, she wants the lead. She wants the lead in the show.
That sounds about right. Right.
Yeah, she blows my mind. And so, you know, that kind of main character energy, like I'm claiming that. I'm claiming that for myself. Yeah. Like I'm going to have the lead in my own life too. So, yeah. So that's what I want people to know is whatever circumstance you are in, whether it's a diagnosis, whether it's financial, whether it's a caretaking situation, whatever it is, if you shift your perspective about what is possible, the doors will open up for you and you will find ways of living a more expansive life that you didn't dream were possible until you said yes. You have to say yes first.
I love to say that when you change the way you see yourself, the world around you changes. And I think so often we stay in a place we're stuck with, right? We don't know how to move forward. We think, well, this is what it is. And we have choices every morning. We can choose to be miserable. We can choose to be happy. We can choose to live the fullest life that we can live. We were interviewing someone the other day, Liv, I can't remember who it was, but instead of saying her life is busy, she says her life is full. And I thought that was such a great way of saying it, because I think our words are so powerful, and how we choose to use them really does change the world. And we change the world one story at a time. And your story is definitely going to change the world now that you're going to tell people all about it.
Yes. Isn't that crazy how you can be witness to something so cool and huge and miraculous for like 12 years and yet not apply it to your own life, the lesson. So yeah, I'm apparently a slow learner, but I'm here now.
No, I think a lot of times we live our lives and we think like, okay, this is my life. We don't realize that the impact it can have on other people. And
Yeah.
that's what I want, the woman out there who's listening to this to really think about, that your story can change someone else's life in such a positive way. Give them an outlook they never thought they could have. And to me, that makes all the difference. That's why I share my crazy stories, because I really do feel that we can, if we impact one person, we have changed the world.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we went totally off script with stuff, but we do have one question. Do you want to ask the
Yes.
Okay.
What is the best advice a woman in your life has ever given you?
So I have a mentor. Her name is Mary Morrissey, and I do spiritual work with her. And I was at a retreat, an immersion last year, and I was talking to her about my daughter and how I was finally coming to the realization that I could do some things in my life too, and that I wasn't like tethered to just being a caregiver. And she said to me that what is best for you is what is best for everyone around you. Mm. And we talked about it, and she said, because if you're not being authentic to yourself, there's a ripple effect to that. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes, people do things because they think, oh, my children will be affected in a negative way if I don't do X, Y, or Z, or I do X, Y, or Z, even though they know what they want for themselves and they don't do it, or they do it because, and I just think it was so powerful because it really grounded for me the idea that I have to be authentic first, and then everybody around me benefits from that.
Absolutely. I mean, people like to use this analogy. I don't necessarily love this analogy, but the whole idea, put on your face mask first, right? When the air mask comes down on the plane, because when you're happy, when you're fulfilled, when you feel like you're being yourself, again, it's all, for me, it's such a big part of life is just being yourself. Who cares what anybody else is doing, right? Then you show up as your best self, and you can definitely serve the people around you so much better because you feel good and you feel satisfied. And that's what I say all the time.
Yeah. And the old adage, you can't pour from an empty cup. Mm-hmm. So you got to fill your own cup first. Yeah.
I like my cup to be very full. Very full.
Me too. Yes.
So Liv, so one thing we didn't mention is that we end each episode before you tell people where they can find you. But Olivia has this fantastic calendar called the Un-F Yourself calendar. And it always has like a really great quote. And let's see what it has for us today.
Being an accepting human being means you are open to allowing others to be who they are.
See?
Perfect.
It's crazy. It really
perfect.
I would say 98% of the time it completely aligns with what we're talking about. The other 2% of the time it's like, okay, that was fun, but but the 98% of the time it really does, and that is absolutely spot on for this conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I really hope that what the listeners take away from today is really just, I mean, there's so much to this conversation, really, but the idea of really focusing on fulfillment in your life, being your authentic self, and, you can't hide in a bubble forever. I mean, we like to, when something goes wrong, what do? We go and we say, yeah, I'm not going to go do that. I'm not going to try that. That's too scary.
Right.
And you are such an amazing inspiration for kind of everyone to, and I know you're going to say, I don't see it that way, but really you are, because to go ahead and do all the amazing things that you're doing in your life and that Kennedy is doing in hers. I mean, that's the huge part for me, is that understanding that she really is living her best life. And that's what I want the world to see about your story.
Thank you. Yes, I agree.
With that, tell people where they can find you, and we'll have everything in the show notes as well. And we're going to be looking forward to a book coming out, and then we'll have you back on when your book comes out.
I'm looking forward to my FaceTime.
Oh, yeah.
Just so everyone knows.
Oh, yeah. Olivia gets to FaceTime with Kennedy. You notice how I was not invited on that?
Well, Mom,
I'm too
what do
old.
you have to say? Yeah.
I know. I'm not cool enough. I get it.
You don't get the FaceTime culture.
Yeah, I know. I'm just Olivia's mom. I know.
Yes. Yeah, so we are on TikTok and Instagram, and the handle is @diagnosis_magical.
Aw, that's a great, what do you call it? I don't even know the word. Thank you, username. That's what it's called, a username. Yeah, that's I love that. It is magical. Everything about you and everything about Kennedy is magical. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really loved this conversation. I mean, I'm assuming you did, Liv. I'm just talking for you.
Yes, I really did.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite, and I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us on today's episode of Her Unshakable Confidence. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Always remember, you are unshakable.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram @Simone Knego and @Olivia Knego. Till next time.